Welcome everyone to another episode of Wind Chasers. Today we have an absolute privilege and honor to spare some time and interview a true aviation hero, Captain Utsav. Captain Utsav is hailing from Lucknow, India, who took an unconventional path to his current passion of flying, the Airbus A320. Despite no family background in aviation, his curiosity led him to pursue electrical engineering at VIT Vellore. After a stint in the IT industry, Utsav's true calling took flight. With dedication and hard work, Utsav accumulated 750 hours of flying experience and now skillfully navigates the skies as an Airbus A320 pilot. His journey exemplifies the power of pursuing one's dreams, regardless of the background or previous career choices. Captain Utsav, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's an absolute pleasure to do this with Wind Chasers, and I've been associated for some while since it has started, and I love contributing every time that you guys call me over here, and I just feel a part of the family, and it's been an absolute pleasure.
Fantastic. Let's just jump in. Captain, it's just that I want to ask you first, tell us about the journey, actually what sparked your passion for flying. Is it just like a childhood dream of any kid out there, and it stands as a long-standing dream of becoming a pilot? Or was it something else? Was it something more to it than just a childhood dream?
So personally for me, as a child, very young in my age, I used to travel via airplanes because I have relatives in Kathmandu, Nepal. Mm-hmm. So every summer vacation, I used to visit my nani, and that was the time I used to get to travel on a plane. So the excitement actually sparked from there, because as a child, I used to obviously wait to go to my nani's place, but more exciting would be that I would get to travel on a plane to go to her place. So the fascination grew from there. And my parents would tell me that even if there's like 1.5 hours, 2 hours to the boarding time, they would be sitting on benches, but I would always be at the windows at the airport, at the gate, and looking at aircrafts take off and land endlessly. And to be honest, that passion still continues. I can still do that. So that has not gone by.
Maybe once after the landing, you just go to the glass windows and still stand in awe.
Not like that, but yeah, if I'm a passenger and there's time, I would always take a window seat. And even if I'm having my food somewhere we're having on layovers, I would always tell them, please give me the airport facing window or the room where I can see planes take off and land.
Absolutely.
And that passion still continues. And yeah, that's how the passion sparked. And it just kept on with incidents. Once I was flying on a Jet Airways flight, and I was with my dad. And while we were deboarding, the captain invited us over to see the cockpit. Mm-hmm. And as a part of an airline, we also try to enhance customer experience. So whenever we see young kids who are passionate about, they just come peeking inside the cockpit, and we invite. Absolutely. And when we have the time, we invite a lot of them over and make them, what I felt as a child. Absolutely. I try to give them the same experience. So that has been
fantastic, the passion. Fantastic story, Captain. Another important aspect of flying or becoming an airline pilot is that most of us see this airline profession as one of the most glorified profession in the whole world. Just like you see the doctor as a noble profession, and I totally believe that becoming a commercial pilot is also a glorified profession. But obviously it comes with its downside too. So do you really think that becoming an airline pilot or in a typical day of an airline pilot, it's just the same as that of an average man's life, or or how different it is? Or is it just filled with glamour and glitz and jet lags? Or is there anything more to the typical day of an airline pilot?
To be honest, in my experience, people think it's a glamorous life. No doubt it is, but it definitely comes with a lot of challenges and sacrifices that we do. For example, I have a 4 a.m. reporting and something's really important, but I have to sleep for my flight and wake up fresh. So some days are very early starts. It's not like an average man's life because it's very dynamic in nature. You're flying in the mornings, you're flying in the evenings, you're flying at night. So you have to manage your rest accordingly. You have to be fit.
Absolutely.
And you need to take care of your diet because and also develop this habit of sleeping anywhere and at any time. An average man would finish their day by like 9 p.m.
Right.
But most probably I will be sleeping then, and I'll begin my day like 12 a.m.
Right.
and returning home at like say 7 or 8 a.m. while other people are waking up, but I need to go to bed and rest.
Right.
So initially it takes a while to adapt to the routines, but yeah, it's that becomes challenging initially, but I embrace every moment that I get of it.
I think it's one of the skills that has to be acquired while you're in the journey of becoming a pilot.
Yes, indeed. And these qualities are imbibed in a student pilot from the day he starts flight school. So you just it becomes a discipline.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which means nobody gets to oversleep.
Nobody. If you get to oversleep, there is obviously a legal rest that the company and DGCA takes care of. And I would say it's generally more than an average man's job, because between two flights you get 15 hours of rest.
Absolutely.
Compared to an average IT guy who gets 12 hours of rest, comes home at 9 and goes again by 9.
Okay.
So rest is controlled because it's an integral aspect of flight operations and required for safety.
Absolutely. So Captain, you're trying to say that it's very fine-tuned and you have a beautiful blend of work-life balance even when you are in the aviation sector.
Yes. In fact, I would say all jobs come with their own pros and cons. Here, you have to sacrifice a lot. Like I would say on festivals, when the loads increase, we have to keep flying because a lot of people want to go to their homes. And all jobs will have their own pros and own cons.
Absolutely.
It is just what pros work for you.
True.
And for me, like an average guy would, wait for their Saturday or Sunday. But in this profession, there is no fixed Saturday or Sunday. You get your weekly offs, you get the proper rest.
Right.
But to be honest, sometimes and flight training days also. Saturdays, Sundays, it's not off. Any day can be off. By chance, Saturday, Sunday also can be off. But Saturday or Sunday is just another normal routine day for a pilot. And now I don't even think it's a Saturday or Sunday. My off day is my off day. Sunday, I'm flying. No regrets at all.
Okay. So forget about the calendar. I mean, put it in your pocket and then just be ready to fly when the calling comes.
Yes.
Absolutely. Another aspect which is just popped in my head. It's about now we've been talking about the good side of aviation, about the journey or the glamour and glitz about aviation. But at the same time, there are incidents that can fatalities when it comes to, especially in the aviation industry, and which can be much more fatal than in any other transportation sector. To begin with, very recently we have had this incident of a Singapore-bound flight from London, flight 321, which actually had to face extreme turbulence, and because of which a lot of passengers inside were launched outside the seats. And I think a vast majority of the passengers were hurt, and probably one was even dead. So this is something totally that can happen anytime during the flight. So inside the cabin, we have all experienced like that turbulence and in extreme conditions and this chaos that we are dealing with. But as a pilot inside the cockpit, how do you deal with this bumpy ride, and what do you think is a precaution or the reason for such turbulences, and how do you calm the passengers on board?
So in my opinion, flying a plane or being on an airplane as a passenger is it's the safest transport in the world, because when you see road accidents, they're happening daily around the world. But how many plane accidents happen very often, or like really seldom? Probably once in like 5-6 years you'll hear one.
True.
But the amount of because it's so much covered, one plane crashes somewhere around the world, entire world comes to know. So it is the quite of attention that's giving it, that's considered not safe. But to be honest, being a pilot, it's the safest mode of transport. There are so many backups, and like you talked about the turbulence and all the emergencies that can happen on board, it comes by being a pilot, because you're training for 3 years, you're going through your books, and the studies don't stop there. The studies go on for your life. When the technologies change, the procedures change. Being a pilot, we know even if a lot of equipments fail, we're still trained to land that aircraft. And if such an emergency happens, obviously we have to make announcement to the passengers.
Exactly.
And the key to that is maintaining calm in your voice and maintaining calm within yourself, because definitely time's very less. It's the time to act. So knowledge plays a great part.
Exactly.
And we are trained to be handle emergencies.
So to talk about, to be very specific, precisely speaking about this particular aircraft, I've heard that this was flying over the country Myanmar, and that's when the turbulence happens. So they got the clearance to land the aircraft as an emergency landing. They did it in Bangkok. So let's imagine a scenario that where you don't get the approval to land in the nearest airport. So it adds on to the pressure. So how would you handle such a situation in an unforeseen and unpredictable conditions?
So whenever any such incident happens, you will get approval to land actually.
Okay.
And then when you are having a situation with such unsafe things happening, all airports are actually open for you. The rules of the air don't apply to you. It's a mayday situation.
Understood.
So the rules of the only thing the pilot has to do is get the aircraft on the ground safely.
Absolutely.
So whenever an aircraft is experiencing severe failures or emergencies like this one, then other aircrafts who are supposed to land will hold for you, and you will get the priority. And then your only job as a pilot is to land the aircraft safely and as soon as possible, so that in this case, the required passengers can get the necessary medical assistance.
Okay.
So it's not like we will definitely get approval, and we will be on the highest priority then.
Absolutely. Makes sense. Moving on from this question, in your perception, up until now, what is one of the biggest challenge that you had to face as an airline pilot? Maybe one of the biggest challenges or obstacles that you had to face, or an ongoing obstacle or ongoing challenge that an commercial airline pilot had to face on a day-to-day basis?
In my experience, the toughest challenge I faced since I started my journey onwards to become a commercial pilot is convincing my dad. That took a lot of time. In fact, to be honest, if I have to be precise, it took like 2.5 to 3 years.
Okay.
Because I come a family of all a non-aviation background, and to be in this position, to be a pilot, you need a lot of information which is not available online.
Exactly.
Only someone who's flying can tell you about it.
Absolutely.
So when I started, I had just stories but not facts. So I had lesser points to convince my dad.
True,
so
very
that
true.
took when I used to be in that stage. I used to connect with a lot of people, because platform like Windchasers and a lot of other platforms did not exist back then.
True.
And social networking and platforms like these were very less.
Exactly.
So I had to connect, random pilots. I would search on Facebook, Instagram, because that was the only way. And then I would message 50 people, let's say, and 2-3 would reply back to me. That's how I got my information. Over 2.5 years, 3 years, when I got a job out of college, my dad agreed that now I can give it a try. So that was the first thing, because since people don't know what this field has to offer, it's a lot of resistance. A lot of people think it's unsafe, which it's absolutely not.
Okay.
And the second biggest challenge I would say is being a pilot is a investment heavy thing. So arranging the funds, but still there's lack of knowledge. There are a lot of banks that give you loans. So investment was also a big challenge for me when I started.
My question was a little more targeted towards about the current scenario. For instance, in your ever since you become an airline pilot, on that journey as a commercial pilot, obviously you might have faced in this span of all these years that you've been associated with the airline, you've been flying, and of course that comes with a lot of hardships, challenges and obstacles. So in that period of time, particularly pertaining to this flying experience, what I'm relating to, what is the challenge that you have faced, and or technically or non-technically, or one of the biggest challenge, or what is the challenge that any commercial airline pilot has to go through on a daily basis? So is there anything as such?
Yeah, the challenge is as such, when you start as an airline pilot, it's a very steep curve. Okay. For example, today I can, if I have a flight, I will just read my notes and the flight papers for 20 minutes and go. But when you start off initially, it's a lot of studying. For example, there's this route checks that you have. So if tomorrow is my route check in the morning, I have to study from the morning till night to be ready for the flight. So initially it's a very steep curve. With time you get more comfortable because you realize 230 odd people are behind you, and the safety of the aircraft is behind you, and also your job is at stake if you don't know what you're doing.
Exactly.
So it's everything at stake at once, and there is zero scope for error. every time you have to do the same thing but perfectly. It's not like, and two of us pilots in the cockpit, anything goes wrong, only it's two of us who have to make a decision, and it's a time critical situation if ever it happens.
Agreed, yes.
But planes are so advanced, it will not happen so often. It's very rarely, but it will happen. But the day it happens, all your knowledge, all your training has to kick in, and it has to be 100%. There's no scope for 99%. So you have to keep yourself updated. Read thoroughly every day.
Absolutely, to the precision and
yes,
accuracy. What do you need to have?
So these are not the challenges, but I would say these things come with it. If you embrace it, it's fine. If you just came in like thinking it's a glamorous thing, it's going to be a challenge for you because it's not going to stop throughout your life.
Right. Okay.
And medically, you have to be really fit. Keep take care of your health and everything, because as you age, you really have to take care of your medicals, because till the time you have your medicals, you have your license and you're a pilot. The day you lose your medical, you're no more a pilot. Right. You can't fly.
So I believe staying fit is also one of the challenges it comes.
Definitely.
So cut down on your sugar or the sugar intake, or having appropriate dietary is also important.
Yes.
And yes, lovely, beautiful.
Thank you.
Another aspect, Captain, is that, just now as you were talking about your journey and then about that oblivious factors that existed, that students did not have the access to a lot of information, even though there were like hundreds and thousands of students, parents out there who wish to send their kids to become commercial pilots. But of course, it comes with a lot of stages and phases, and there was no awareness like you mentioned it. Now, but today, with the entities and organizations like Windchasers have taken that big leap in helping the students out, in shaping their future, in creating an awareness, guiding, shaping, and mentoring them. Now, having said that, Captain Utsav, you have been affiliated with Windchasers for quite some time, in a way that your expertise and your experience, also you've been guiding our students, mentoring them, and showing them, opening them the paths. Attending and participating in the aviation events that we have been organizing. And also with the kind of experience and the interactions what you've had with our students, Captain Utsav, what do you perceive as one of the biggest challenges that the students face? Like I'm referring to the aviation enthusiasts or the aviation aspirants who wish to become a commercial pilot. What do you think?
The challenges that a normal aspirant or an aviation enthusiast faces when they want to become a pilot, and they're coming from a totally non-aviation background, because for people who are coming from aviation background, they've seen it all.
Exactly.
Their parents, their relatives. So for them, it's not so much of a distant world compared to a person who knows no one. So it's like a shot in the dark. For example, when I started preparing, I never knew I would even make it, because it's just so... It's very dreamy when you start as a child, because there's so many things, and it's a vague field, less information and everything. So that's a really big challenge. And what contributes to these challenges is the lack of awareness, lack of information.
True.
And you can't go to your parent one day and all parents, the typical Indian families have dreamt of you to be a doctor, an engineer, MBA, banker, whatever.
Yes.
But very few families would push themselves for you to be a pilot, because there's this misconception that it's unsafe, and obviously investment heavy is another challenge. For an average Indian family, the investment is so much. So all these factors contribute to the lack of awareness, because when we conduct these open houses wherein we tell people what the field has to offer, and even if it's investment heavy, that's how you can recover your money. And as pilots, we invest in being a pilot because you can recover your money over a short period of time. Otherwise, it would not make sense investing at all. So there is that life and salary and everything that comes later. And it's a dream. When you achieve that dream, you feel proud of yourself. And yeah, I think so.
Great. That was quite insightful, Captain. A very simple, straightforward question. I know you've been flying Airbus. Are you a fan of Airbus or Boeing?
So to be honest, becoming a pilot in India, you don't have a lot of options. You have to fly the narrow body planes first, because India is a narrow body dominated market. Planes like Boeing 777, they're very few in number. And when it comes to which aircraft I'm a fan of, or which company, I'm flying the Airbus right now. Probably when I was 3 years before this, when I was just flying small planes, a single engine Diamond DA40 that we fly in training.
Yes.
I had probably a neutral opinion about both of them, and I would love to fly any just to get a job as an airline pilot. But now when I am flying the Airbus A320, I love what Airbus has made of, and it's so much, definitely it's automation, but I am still amazed by the fact that the Airbus A320 they designed in early 1970s, 1980s, and that technology is still foolproof till date.
Exactly.
And the way it flies, the kind of safety integrations it has, even if one system fails, the most critical system also fails, we are trained to still fly that. And that machine can fly beautifully.
True.
If something goes wrong, the Airbus will know before the pilots will know. And it will tell you this has failed, and because of this, these systems also have failed. So it's an amazing and a brilliant machine.
I think there is so much of computer integration that has happened with the A320, for instance, with the flight control systems or pneumatic systems, hydraulic systems, air conditioning system, ventilation. You can go on and on with Airbus A320. Fly-by-wire.
Fly-by-wire, yeah.
Yes. So I believe these are all the advantages of. Do you always put Airbus above than Boeing, maybe 737?
It's a personal perspective. I
like
don't want
you're
to
asking like a little small girl, like, do you like your father or do you like your mother the most? It's hard to choose, but
it's a debate. Pilots can argue over it.
Yeah, I think they can argue for months, days, and months and years.
Yeah.
Yes.
To each his
but
own.
Ultimately, I think. Like I said, I was relating to that example. If you ask a small baby kid, like, whom do you love the most? Do you love your father or do you love the mother?
Yes.
It's in a total dilemma. It's very hard to make a choice because both has its own advantages and disadvantages. But now, the significance of this question, Captain, is that as soon as you're done with the CPL, which we would get to the process and the procedures and the steps involved in it, the step 2, one big hurdle what they see is nothing but the TR, type rating. And some students choose to do a TR of Airbus A320 or maybe a 737. Very hardly people go with ATR, a 7200. Now, there are a set of other candidates as well who says that, no, I'm not going to do the TR, but instead I would rather wait to get into an airline, because if I do my TR, I'm actually confining my options to get into an airline. So as an experienced captain who has been with an airline, one of the reputed airlines in the country, how do you see this? What do you recommend about the type rating?
So the type rating steps definitely comes after you have your Indian CPL license in hand. Mm-hmm. So market is very dynamic. Okay, present day vacancies are coming out. Most vacancies are type rated vacancies, because how it works is it's totally a demand supply market.
Exactly. Yes.
When the demand is really high and supply is low, airlines will come out with CPL vacancies. But when, there's a lot of supply but not much demand. For example, you need 100 pilots but there are 1,000 in the market.
Right.
Airlines would want to take type-rated pilots because they don't want to invest their time.
Exactly.
So, getting type-rated or not getting type-rated is not a personal choice actually. It is what the market demands at that time. You have to be at the right time and at the right place. In aviation, that only works. Right timing and right place, you have the right set of skills.
Exactly.
So, let's say example, we have an order already which is coming. Indigo has ordered more than 500 planes.
Yes.
Air India has ordered more than 480 planes.
Right.
So the next 5-10 years, once those planes start coming, it's booming. So I would say, even if you're not type rated, CPL vacancies will come out.
Correct.
So it's not a right or a wrong decision that you have to make. You have to make your decision based on what the market is currently. If there are a lot of opportunities, a CPL holder will get a job because airlines will come out with CPL vacancies. But if it's a market wherein not many pilots are needed and they are surplus, airlines would come out with type-rated vacancies. So one has to see for themselves and analyze, get expert opinion for people, pilots, academies like Windchasers which guide you. And then with that decision, you can go on and make your decision.
Incredible. I think that's the exact appropriate way of getting it done, rather than going with any pre-notion.
Yes.
So understand your market, understand the requirements of the airline, then you make your decisions, right? So there is no such predetermined factors when it comes to TR. Understood. Actually, aviation is one of the industries that is constantly evolving, and you know that. And the necessity of a pilot, being a commercial pilot, to stay updated with the regulations, with the rules and the technology is extremely important. Which is actually even put your job at stake. If you are just the way how you said, if you're unfit, if you stay outdated, possibly you could be thrown out. So I think the learning part goes as an ongoing and everyday process. Reading things and updating yourself with the manuals, getting the sim checks, which we will get to now, simulator checks, and so on and so forth. Having said that, now technology has advanced. There's been a lot of technological advancements, especially in the aviation industry. And so how do you see this when it comes to a manual flying and an automated flying? So people have this question that, once the airplane takes off and once they reaches the cruise altitude, and then the pilots just sit back and relax, and then it's taken care by autopilot. So do you think what is that proportion or the ratio between that manual flying and automation and technology? How do you club all these three?
So I would say on any flight around the world that's taking place, 15 to 20% is manual flying. 80% it's on autopilot.
Right.
But autopilot is just to assist the pilots. It reduces our workload because the plane is flying, but there are a lot of things that the pilots need to do. That is communication with the ATC, monitoring the systems on board. So I would just give you an example. Let's say you're flying from Delhi to Chennai, and there are like 10 checkpoints in between, imaginary waypoints. From A to B, you go A to B, C to D, and then you reach Chennai.
Exactly.
So at every waypoint, pilots are monitoring the fuel, because the company has given from point A to point B, the aircraft should have consumed this amount of fuel.
Absolutely.
Now we get these papers beforehand wherein it's written A to B, this much of fuel should have consumed. So when we're at point B, the pilots will check with the system. Okay, this amount of fuel is remaining or not. It's obviously can be plus minus in a plus minus 5% range. But if it's more, so let's say it's minus 20%, then something's wrong.
Something's wrong.
Then we start suspecting a fuel leak if something's wrong. So these are just examples of what we're doing through the flight.
Right.
And there are a lot of equipments and systems like that.
Yes.
So we keep monitoring if everything's working perfectly, whether we're going on track, the weather. So if autopilot is just there to assist and reduce our workload and reduce our fatigue, because there are a lot of things and documentation and paperwork that goes inside. And when the automation fails, we are trained to handle the plane.
All right.
So that's how automation helps us.
So those who think that pilots are sleeping up in the air, it is not true.
It's not true at all.
You have to stay awake because of these imaginary checkpoints. In fact, yes. In recent years, like I was saying about the sustainability and what do you think the strategies for technologies to use to promote fuel efficiency during flight? What do you think about? Is there any technology that is assisting so that aircraft can get more fuel efficient? Is there any strategies that can be implemented?
Definitely, and not just fuel efficiency. Airlines focus on lesser carbon footprint.
Exactly. Yes.
And lesser fuel burn. So in turn, it saves the environment. In turn, saves money for the company. So a lot of airlines around the world follow this single engine taxi procedure. Because when you're just taxiing on the ground, you don't need power from both the engines to taxi.
Right.
One engine is capable enough even to take off. So taxi is nothing for one engine.
Right.
So you start taxiing with one engine and getting closer to the runway, you start your second engine. So that in turn saves almost, single engine taxi can save up to 200 kg per flight. And when an airline is operating at scale, for example, an airline, let's say, is doing 1,000 flights a day.
Right.
So it's 1,000 flights into 200 kgs that they've saved in a day.
Absolutely.
So procedures like single engine taxi,
substantial amount of savings.
Procedures like single engine taxi and a lot more procedures that we follow in the air if we get some shortcuts. So in the air you can take shortcuts, and there are shortcuts, but you have to coordinate with the ATC because he's following up. Okay, if another airplane is flying nearby, and if not, he will give us a shortcut. So flying time can be cut from for example, it's a 2-hour flight, but you can cut it down by taking shortcuts to 1 hour 50 minutes, 1 hour 45 minutes. In turn, the passengers are also happy because they got their destination earlier. The airline saved fuel, it's a lesser carbon footprint, and we as pilots also get to go home earlier.
So, like I was trying to get some insights from you, Captain, about so for now there are two forms of commercial pilot license that you can obtain. Number one is obviously through the Cadet program that is offered by various reputed airlines such as Indigo or Vistara, Air India, Air Asia for that reason. At the same time, there is something called the conventional pilot, which has been in existence ever since the aviation industry has flourished, and I believe a vast majority of them choose to follow the path of CPL. But at the same time, people like you, Captain, has decided to choose the path of Cadet program. So, what's the motivation, or how do you see it? Like, how beneficial is it to go with the Cadet program when compares to conventional program, or what do you think is more advantageous or beneficial?
So, in simple words, what the two programs are: a cadet program gives you a job guarantee day one, whereas a conventional program, you do everything by yourself. And just like how any job comes out with vacancies and you apply and write the exam and get through the merit list, so just two fancy terms for nothing but just simple things.
Yes.
So, but what I would say, a cadet which gives you a job is a lot more costly, or probably 50% more costly than what a conventional program costs. So it's highly, investment heavy to be a part of the cadet program. And conventional, like you said, it's been throughout. Cadet programs are comparatively newer, coming into existence 6, 7, 8 years before 2024. Still, present day, I would say 85 to 90% of the pilots that are coming in are conventional pilots, because cadet programs have their own capacity. They can't train so many pilots in a year, all flight schools inclusive of the cadet program. So personally for me, I did the cadet program because I just needed some guidance, and I was not that so much aware, because academies like Wind Chasers and a lot of guidance were not being provided back then. Being a pilot today, if I have to, let's say if someone's asking me what path they should follow, but they have access to proper guidance, conventional way is a great way to be a pilot, because let's say you put in 60 to 70 lakhs compared to double the amount in a cadet program.
Exactly.
And present day market, aviation is the third largest. India is the third largest aviation market in the world right now. Yeah, and with the coming years, there will be so many jobs. So to be honest, investing almost double the money in a cadet program is not the wise option for right now, at least.
Makes sense.
Because a conventional guy can save over 50 lakhs and, just wait for a job, apply 2 vacancies, get a job. There are jobs out there in the coming 5 years, look amazing for aviation. So whoever starts now and does a conventional program, they should not be worried about jobs like how when the COVID times was. So there is a job for probably everyone, because the market is so huge. And the wiser option today is to invest in a conventional program where you can save a lot of money and get a job at the same time.
Exactly. Yeah. Incredibly insightful, Captain. Makes sense. So in essence, it's of course always wise and economical to pursue a conventional CPL, which opens more doors than that of a cadet program. In fact, you get to choose your own flying school, the country where you want to go, and the aircraft that you want to get trained on, and the exact airline that you want to join, and the place on the aircraft where you want to get your TR done. So a lot of customization can happen, and obviously that in turn would open new doors of opportunities for you to pursue and climb up the ladder in your aviation career.
Indeed, yeah. You get to mold your own journey, where in a cadet program it's already decided you'll go here, and you'll be trained on this aircraft.
Absolutely.
And you'll be flying for an X airline.
Understood. The whole interview has been incredibly insightful, undoubtedly, with a lot of expertise and information what you have shared with our audience. And out there right now, there are people watching us, especially at Wind Chasers, the things what we're talking about. So for our audience, for our students, for the aviation enthusiasts and aspirants out there, you might want to give out a piece of advice in pursuing their dreams, what it would be.
I would just tell my personal experience, and I think that would work for anyone who's coming from a non-aviation background. Persistence is key, okay? And when you start this journey of becoming a pilot, you're very unsure because it's very dreamy to you as a child. And it's a lot of things, a lot of documentation, a lot of paperwork, studies as well, a lot of research. So you need to find a right companion who can,
I think Wind Chasers is the right companion in that case for them.
First, right companion who can show you that path.
Exactly.
So
yes.
My time, okay, options were limited, but present day options are plenty. So the research that I did on my own, there are many people and many academies, Wind Chasers, and many platforms that you can get the right guidance from. Right guidance is very important.
Exactly.
Once you have the right guidance, persistence, and never give up on your dreams. When I started, it felt like, there's so many things, and whether ever I will be able to make it or not. And since it's such a vague thing, becoming a pilot, people have not heard of it. A lot of people will have not heard of it. So when you tell others, you will face a little bit of ridicule. But the day you make it, everyone who's been pointing fingers at you and doubting your skills would just be there for you, and they'll be a totally different person. And I'm telling it from my personal perspective. So it's
correct.
A thing. It's a very unheard of thing. It's not even 1% of the world's population are pilots. So it's like an elite club in itself, and it's a noble profession as well.
Undoubtedly,
gives you all name, fame, and money. What else can you ask for in a job? So, and my advice for aspirants would be: don't give up on the dream. It's a lot of challenges. Probably you'll have challenges. From funds to convincing your family,
right.
And obviously once you've arranged all that, it's a lot of studying and hard work as well.
Right.
So never give up, and just be persistent. The day you'll make it, it still feels dreamy to me that I am here, and I recollect upon my own journey, and I used to think whether I will ever make it or not. And sometimes when I'm reflecting back on my past, I would be thinking that if I would not have convinced my father for 2.5 or 3 years, I would, probably doing an MBA or working in an office somewhere. But the persistence...
Or maybe even continuing the IT job that you were doing, that little stint.
That was not my world at all, and I would be still cribbing every day of my life, working for salaries, because all of us need it.
Yeah.
But that passion and dedication and the love for work, which does not... If I have to go and fly a plane 4 a.m. in the morning, I would never crib out, tomorrow I have to wake up at 4 a.m. That feeling is not there. I always look forward to it, because every day is a new challenge.
Absolutely.
So I love and embrace everything that comes with it. So,
Beautiful.
My advice to aspiring aviators is just follow your dreams, never give up. It will be worth one day when you make it.
Yes, and get the right guidance from the right people, like Wind Chasers.
One more thing I would tell to aspiring aviators: they say sky is the limit, but for us aviators, sky is home.
Sky is home.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Captain Utsav. We truly appreciate your expertise and your time, and thank you so much for sharing your time with Wind Chasers for this podcast. We looking forward to see you again, and thanks again. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much for having me here. Pleasure doing it. And this is just the starting. Looking forward to do many more of it.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Altaf.
Thank you.